us who you are.
I'm Susan Cantalupo. My son is Rocco, and I'm here in Southwest Florida. Way back when he was a baby, he was getting all of his immunizations. He got everything in the hospital. I wasn't advised of anything else. Didn't know anything about autism, and I don't even honestly to this day remember which vaccination it was that sent him into a fever of 104.
Do you know vaguely how old he was when this happened?
He was an infant. He wasn't even walking at that point. He was born with a dislocated hip and had to have his hip set in a cast. So, you know, we had a little bit of a whammy with medications to put him under anesthesia to begin with.
Right.
But then, still while he was in cradling mode and not walking, he did run a high fever. And the pediatrician didn't have enough time to see me as I brought my son in there with a burning fever. I'm a new mom, older mom. And so they sent me across town, and the nurse just said, well, why didn't you just give him children's Tylenol and be done with it? And I said, but you need to see my son. I don't know what's wrong. So I didn't know to look for any signs up until that point. So I don't even know if he was developing normally. I didn't have any frame of reference, having no other children. But as time went on, the screaming, the incessant screaming ensued. My parents said, Susan, something is wrong. He would constantly spin the wheels on his collapsed stroller. He would scream bloody murder until the ceiling fans are at full circle so that you couldn't see a blade. It's that whole, they have to see the one whole thing rather than the ceiling fan blade. But it was the screaming for no reason during a swimming lesson as a young baby, and the screaming to put him down for a nap that told us there was something wrong. Still, the pediatrician just discarded it until his daycare, of all places, where you want to be so PC, about 2 weeks prior to him turning 3, they said, we suspect you need to have him evaluated for autism. And I can't thank them enough, because a lot of professional people would not go that route. We went to a neurologist. He gave me a pat on the back, said, go with God. He's got PDD-NOS. I don't know what that is. Where do I go? Well, we've done a lot of biomedical treatment. He was essentially nonverbal, but by the time he was 4, I did get him talking. But the thing that is the worst part of this now is that he had been dealing with precocious puberty. Now he is in full-blown puberty, but we have had to get him on. Well, let me back up a sec. Because of this precocious puberty, testosterone was running so sky high, he couldn't grab a hold of it. Now, his testosterone levels were not high, but because he's got this neurological disorder now, his brain can't process the testosterone that he's producing. So it got to the point a couple of years ago where he was attacking me full on, charging me from behind when nobody would see. Autism had already split my husband and I up. I was a single mom, and I had to hide all of the knives in my trunk of my car. And nobody believed me until he drew blood from our ABA specialist. She's a mandated reporter, and so she had to call 911. He's been Baker-acted 4 or 5 times.
You do what?
Baker-acted meaning sent to crisis units. Here it's called Baker-acting.
Describe what that actually means.
That means
talk us through what happened to your son now.
My son would see red so much. It was a blinding rage. He would come after me with such ferocity that it was like he didn't know I was his mother, and he was out to hurt the person that loved him the most, because that's how much he was suffering inside. And when he bit our ABA therapist so much, she finally believed what happened. She had to call 911, and the police had to come to my neighborhood. I've had to call 911 several times. Police had to come to my neighborhood, and all the neighbors come out and they look. And my son was actually restrained in handcuffs. He's 12 now. That was when he was about, I'm going to say about 8. And
how painful is that for you to watch?
It's horrible. It's horrible. And you know, it got to the point where he was beating me so much that I had to fight back. And so I literally had to restrain him on the floor. And as he was screaming, I would have to scream over his scream to get his attention. And I would have to straddle him, and just with the adrenaline, just dripping sweat down onto him, and thinking that I'm about to have a heart attack. Now, I had cancer 4 years ago, and I have needed to keep myself in a better place. But even though we have gotten that under control with an injectable medication, and therein lies another controversy, we've had to resort to the psychiatric meds. Well, for a lot of these kids, psychiatric meds don't work. It's not that they have, a lot of them, I don't want to say, I'll just say, in general, they don't have psychiatric problems. My son's problems aren't psychiatric. They are neurological, and there is a difference. This has affected his endocrine system. And I had to place him for 8 weeks in a behavior center in Orlando.
So when you do, okay, when they put them in a behavioral, so they take the son away. 911 take the son away, yes?
They did not. We chose to do that. He wanted help desperately. And I said, if it means for you to go away, do you want to do that? And he said yes. But honestly, the deal was that they were going to take him off the horrible psych meds that he was on, dry him out, and then figure out what his needs were from a baseline. But as soon as he started becoming physically aggressive again, they called me and they said, Susan, we've got to put him on a medication. He's getting aggressive. And I said...
Sorry, he was in there for 8 weeks?
8 weeks.
How many drugs was he on when he went in there?
He was on maybe 2 or 3 when he went in.
It takes, and I know this because I've had Kent, it takes a long time to slowly wean someone off psychotropic drugs. So 8 weeks is not long enough to come off even 2 medications without there being disastrous side effects.
Exactly.
It took me a year to get Kent off of his psychotropic drugs. So that's why I think before you even start with whatever you're going to say, that's unfair on your son. Because
brutally unfair.
He needs a lot of time to come off these drugs. They're lethal.
They gave him 2 weeks.
Right.
And then they started him back on another medication and another medication, and they'd have daily calls allowed at 7 o'clock at night. And I would call him, and he would be so tired. He'd say, Mom, I can't talk. I don't want to be accusatory, but my heart tells me that they were giving him something just to cool his jets because they had other kids to deal with, so they were just probably drugging him. After 8 weeks, with the peer-to-peer interviews from insurance and their facility, they discharged him just on a new cocktail of medicine. And I said, that's it? That's all you've got? And I said, give me my son back. We've had enough. And he spiraled out of control. And luckily I found a very special doctor known nationwide. And it took us 6 months, at least 6 months, to wean Rocco off of his psych meds and figure out...
more like it.
Yeah. And figure out that he needed something to reduce the testosterone because he was in this precocious puberty. And that gave me my son back because I was ready to send my son off again. But the thing is now, Insurance was covering it. Insurance is refusing to cover it anymore. And so I had started to wean back my son's dose in a self-preservation mode, like what happens if insurance doesn't cover it anymore? So I have a little stash left, which is good, but now my son is starting to have episodes at school in 7th grade. Yes. Well, not real violence, but temper tantrums enough to draw.
How old is he right now?
He's 12 and a half. He had been in the ESE programs, the special needs programs. I pulled him out of the special needs programs in my last-ditch effort last school year before I would have to send him away again because I could not live with the child this way. I sent him into a local school that was on lockdown daily with all the thugs and the kids that unfortunately come from troubled homes. And my son was beaten up, and I saw it on video, and I had to keep him home, and I homeschooled him through this last semester. But homeschooling's not my thing. I think that it would really destroy our relationship.
All right. Okay.
So,
sorry, can we go back? Your son was beaten up by who?
My son was beaten up by another student in this this school that was on lockdown, in a local school.
How badly?
I have pictures. Just bruises on his face, his chin, his shoulder.
The reason for this?
Because the other boy was more of a bully, and he saw my son as being vulnerable, and my son was being taunted at school.
Your son has a tough time.
My son is so internally sad to his core, Polly. He has told my parents just recently that no one's going to understand how sad he is until he hurts himself. He has threatened to drink bleach. He is one of the most polite and fun-loving kids you'd ever want to meet. And this is, it's so frustrating because he's so high-functioning, but the autism diagnosis is so difficult to work with when it affects him this way. He knows something's not right. He doesn't have kids that pursue his friendship. He's always on the outside looking in, and he knows it. I fought the school system. I got him, once the medication got his rages under control, I got him evaluated for gifted, which I told him, at least now you're not going to be in special needs. You're going to get to talk about the flow of food through the digestive system like all the other like-minded kids, and he was all excited. But then I had to fight to get him into the right school that had a waiting list. We got that done. But the extreme anxiety that he feels brings on his tantrums and his rages now. His rages don't attack me, but they're just full-on screaming rages where now he's locking himself in the faculty bathrooms. They called me, they said, Susan, you have to come and get him from school. And he is sabotaging all of the hard work that I've done for him. But it's not his fault.
No, and I think, we're all going through it in our different ways. I'm going through it with Billy's 20. We're still going through it. I feel deeply, deeply saddened for your boy, as I do for Billy. Because what's happened to them is not their fault. Could have been prevented. And their life is the hardest life I know. Just trying to communicate, just trying to be understood, just trying to fit in, just trying to do the basic things in life. And on top of that, they have hormones raging through them. And to me, there's no such thing as high functioning, because it's a stupid label that we give for what. So your kid can talk better than Billy, but Billy's probably can do something else better than your kid. And Patrick's kid can probably do something better than all of our kids combined. But the main thing is that none of them, all of them is what I mean to say, are vulnerable in society. And that's for different reasons. And there's people, the more so-called high-functioning they are, the deeper the trouble and danger that I believe they're in.
Absolutely. They have such a different operating system that it's just so difficult to target all of the little nuances that you need to target to get them to function properly. And I'll say it again, I'm a cancer survivor of 4 years. I'm 52 years old. If something happens to me tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where to place my children. Yeah, I think
send them to me. Send them to John at the Autism Trust. Put a label on him.
I don't know.
Off he goes. John's fine. He can cope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too many people on my side that support the diet.
Okay, so no, on a serious note though,
yeah,
there are many people in your situation, and that's why, along with Vaxxed, and along with the Autism Trust, which name is going to change when we've got a second to do it, we are collectively going to be the support group for the future. And the siblings will be able to get married and have their lives knowing that their loving brothers and sisters are taken care of. We are working on this model, and this model is going to happen. Okay, so he's 12 years old, keep him safe, do whatever you've got to do till we've got these things built, but join us, please join us, because we need all the brains we can. And you know what, guys, there's some serious brains in our community, isn't there, Patrick?
Yeah, there are. Just having discussions with a few community members here who are just such minds, such brains. So we'll connect you with the people that are reaching out to us locally here, and then
wonderful.
We're building a center here in Florida.
That is wonderful.
And you are part of the board.
There you go. Look at that. You've been on it.
I would love to be. Because right now I feel like I'm on the outside looking in, and I have to be a contributing factor to the autism community in some way, shape, or form.
The main thing you can do is join us in preparing the futures right now.